folks, we have a problem. It's official. The One Ring, the title card, if you will, from the Lord of the Rings set, is now over $100 for its normal version. However, there is one cheaper version. The bundle foil that came in the gift bundle is only $81 right now. That's right, if you want to play 4 of these in your favorite modern deck that plays 4 copies of the Ring, it'll only set you back $160 plus $160, I don't know, $1,000? I'm not a mathematician, you do the math. The point is, the last time I looked, this was about $40, $50. I didn't realize it had been climbing, and it has no sign of going down, right? In this video, I want to talk about the climbing price of the Ring and a few other cards that are in a similar situation, a situation where I'm not sure if Wizards of the Coast can reprint them because they are licensed style cards where you can't really use that name again without permission, and thus they need to be reprinted in a special fancy way. It's not impossible, but it's a clear problem that Wizards need to address. But before we jump into it, this video is brought to you by whatnot.com. Whatnot is a streaming service where you can buy things at auction like eBay meets Twitch, and I stream on it multiple times a month. There'll be links to my shows in the description below and a referral link, and if you use the referral link, get £10 off your first purchase. That's £10 off. So if you buy a £10 single, like a signed copy of a card from me, then you get the card for free and you just pay shipping. So come join me where we talk about Magic, we do giveaways, we do auctions, I lick things sometimes too on whatnot.com. Link in the description below. I was first made aware of the climbing price of the One Ring from this tweet from Saffron Olive, another content creator. When you all work in the same niche, you often cover the same shit. I got accused of stealing content from a podcast a couple months ago. It's really funny because I'd never even heard of their fucking podcast. It was just that we covered the same topic about Modern. Very strange. The One Ring is becoming more and more of a financial problem. The cheapest printing is up to $85 and I'm not even sure Wizards has the ability to reprint it thanks to whatever licensing deal they have to use the Lord of the Rings IP. So let's unpack that for a moment. The thing that Saffron Olive is mentioning there is the fact that this is a licensed product from another intellectual property. The Universes Beyond crossover products are a bit of a legal minefield. There will be rules and restrictions around how Wizards of the Coast can go about reprinting cards and bringing those cards back when people want to be able to get hold of them for not the extortionate price they climb to when they stop being sold in products. Scorpic Lord is an example of a card that has seen play in Legacy, and it was a card that couldn't show up on Magic the Gathering Online because of some weird legal discrepancy where they couldn't put the cards on Modo unless they put them in a wholly self-contained product. In short, we can do a bit of backwards understanding of what the original contract for this was. If we understand that eventually when they came to Modo, they could only come for a limited window in the original pre-con package. All of the cards in one deck. So it was very expensive. You had to pay $40 to get a Commander pre-con to get one copy of a card, you needed 4 for Legacy. The point is, that was because of some sort of legal requirement, some sort of contractual obligation that they made with Games Workshop when they first negotiated the Warhammer contract. This means that the early days of Universes Beyond were probably a bit messy as they learn from these mistakes and perhaps don't allow these sort of contractual clauses to get in the way of digital Magic in the future. Because of course they would love to put these things onto Modo to a lesser extent, and Arena certainly because it makes them money. Look at Arena, we only got cosmetics to do with Fallout and not a single Fallout release. It was very strange. And the most recent Assassin's Creed cards that are coming out a week or two after this video is released, they aren't going to be available on Arena either. Again, they seem to have messed up some sort of contractual negotiations here about using these video game IP stuff in their own version of a video game of Magic. That's my inkling anyway. On top of that, there will be contractual obligations that they can't use the name again. It's beyond a certain point, right? The Wizards of the Coast making Lord of the Rings cards doesn't give them the rights to Legolas forevermore, unless they wrote that into the contracts, which any sane company is never going to let them to have unlimited access to their IP, their intellectual property, forever, right? That means often, as we're seeing, once these products are done, they can't reprint them with the old names. They can't reuse something like, well, Orcish Bowmasters maybe, but the One Ring they can't. We saw this with Rick, Steadfast Leader, and the rest of the cards from the Walking Dead Secret Lair, that these cards were demanding a bit of a price tag. Rick is now a $40 card because it's a very good include for humans decks in Commander and also saw a bit of Legacy play from time to time. When they came to reprinting Rick Steadfast Leader, they decided to reprint it as Greymond, Avacyn Stalwart, which does exactly the same thing, but it's a Universes Within version. This does two things. One, it allows people that don't want to play with a photorealistic artistic depiction of a real-world actor in their Magic decks and want want to keep it in canon in flavor, they can avoid that. But B, it means that they can reprint this card again and again and again in master sets and similar down the line, because they aren't reusing intellectual property they don't have the extensive rights to. This is a little bit different to skinning of cards that we saw, firstly, in Ikoria, where we have the original Magic card name in the bottom box here, but the top bit has Mechagodzilla Battle Fortress, where we have another IP coming in, but reskinning over an existing Magic card. This is what a lot of people thought originally when the Walking Dead Secret Layers came out, how they should do the whole Universes Beyond stuff, is just reskin existing cards, but of course they instead went down the mechanically unique route. This reskinable version of a Magic card allows them to use existing designs, not have to encroach in new space, and just slap a skin and a name over it. However, when we go backwards the other way, as we saw with Rick's Advanced Leader, they don't put the original name of the card on there, and thus we get two instances of a card that does exactly the same thing with two different names and two different arts. The original point that Saffron Olive was really labouring on Twitter that I agree with to an extent, but perhaps not to the strength that he is arguing it, is that this isn't good for the game. We get two cards that look like they're two separate instances of a thing, and thus newer players might think they can put both of them in their commander decks, for instance. It also just makes it confusing for tracking and memorization of new things. We might get to a point where we've done an IP reskin and IP reskin, and we end up with three different cards that do the same thing as Wizards reuses old designs. I think it's good when cards have names attached to what they do. The reskin using the old card name beneath the new IP name, I know that's confusing, like with Mechagodzilla, is good, because you read Hangerback Walker and you're like, oh, I know what the iconic card Hangerback Walker does. Meanwhile, when you look at Rick next to Graham and whatever his name is, there's something about them that when I glance at them, because one has a transparent text box and one doesn't, it takes me a moment to actually realize, oh, that's the universes within Rick. And Rick is kind of not iconic, but incredibly memorable because I was playing quite a bit when it came out and I've played with it in Legacy, right? So I know what the card does, but I don't know what Graham and Avacyn Stalwart does. Hell, I can name all of the cards that were in the Secret Layers for Stranger Things and Street Fighter. 11 the Mage and Chun-Li Countless Kicks are right here, but I could not tell you what the in-universe versions of them are, in spite of the fact that they are the same card, functionally in terms of all mechanics, just with different art and different names. I've had people tell me that they play a Zethi deck, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. And then they say to me, that's the Magic the Gathering version of Chun-Li, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I guess the point I'm meandering towards is that it's really funny that I heavily attached the well-known intellectual property name of famous characters and things that I've known, you know, Chun-Li I've known since being childhood, right? Not known as a friend, but I know the character. Meanwhile, Zethi Arcane Blade Master does not hold any weight in terms of me understanding or remembering what the card does. And that's where we get this weird fucking thing where I don't know what some of these cards do when you name them to me, and I need you to tell me what they are in terms of the in-universe version of the other IP that they're from. And we'll get that with the One Ring, probably. I guess the One Ring is so powerful and shows up so often that once they get the in-universe version, I guess we'll just know that's the in-universe version. It won't be like, oh, don't worry, this is the in-universe version of the One Ring. I'll just know it as Magical MacGuffin X2 or whatever. That brings us back to our original point, the One Ring. It's really bloody expensive and need to reprint, so where the hell can they put it? It's an inevitability that they do these kind of reprints. What you've got to remember though is that they never intended to do this with The Walking Dead. This was a byproduct of the outrage. Walking Dead was an incredibly controversial product for numerous reasons. Timed exclusivity, photorealism, like an IP that didn't feel like it gelled with Magic in general in terms of a new Universes Beyond, and then they were also mechanically unique cards in that time exclusive thing. It was just a multitude of issues that all compounded to make it an absolute fucking disaster in terms of how the community reacted. Assassin's Creed, if I'm completely honest, check my Assassin's Creed video out. The whole thing's a little bit cringe and weird for me. I don't know why it doesn't vibe with me so much, but we've become used to it, and it's also just not as bad as Walking Dead. In some ways, Walking Dead had been such a fucking mess when it first came around, kind of ripped the band-aid clean off and gave us a nice deep cut for us to then claw our ways back up to some sort of rational response to all the Universes Beyond stuff. But it's weird to me that originally they had no intention or plan to be able to reprint this stuff. What do they do? Expect this stuff to be in like a new reserve list? It was fucking weird. So again, where can they reprint the One Ring? To go back to that question, well, obviously they could do Secret Layers, similar to, or put it in the list slot, similar to what they've done for the previous sort of reinvigorations or reincarnations of these Secret Lair cards. 11 the Mage is currently like $6 to buy, where her in-universe version is less than $1, so sometimes it works in that way. Meanwhile, Greymond is the leader of the pack and being incredibly expensive compared to any any other in-universe versions, and slightly over what the actual Rick one is. It's the only one that seems to be more expensive than its original Secret Lair version. So putting them into the list for the most part, except for outliers like this, does work to bring their price down, but it's not the ideal place to put them. And if they did a Secret Lair where they did the in-universe version of the ring as a way to grab some money, I'd be quite upset. A Secret Lair is not a thing anymore where they print it to demand, right? There'd be a limited number. If they announced a one ring Secret Lair with it in universe tomorrow, that thing would sell out very quickly due to scalpers and people clambering to get it. It'd be a huge FOMO grab, and I would hate that. And there's one more like this too, the 14th Doctor. The 14th Doctor is the return of David Tennant to the role in the Christmas specials that just aired last year, and because this all came about whilst Doctor Who was in production at Wizards of the Coast, the 14th and 15th Doctor plus their companion was all in the Secret Lair itself, separate to the Commander decks. So if you bought all 4 Commander decks for Doctor Who, you didn't get the whole Doctor Who expansion in a way. The 14th, 15th Doctor, the companion, the Toymaker, they were all in the Secret Lair that came later. And thus, the David Tennant Doctor from that Secret Lair, the 14th Doctor, because he's popular, is now $52 mid-price. The 14th Doctor is expensive and currently doesn't have, as far as we understand it, any outcry for an in-universe version, because maybe it's just not that popular of a commander, but it was bought up by collectors of Doctor Who stuff. I don't know. The prices is a bit of an anomaly. But the point I'm getting at here is that, are we ever going to see a 14th Doctor reprint in universe? And that'd be really weird if we get 14th and 15th Doctor reprinted into Magic Universe, but we don't get the other Doctors reprinted. Like, I guess we will. We'll probably get the original David Tennant one reprinted as well into universe, if that continues to be a popular commander. Although you can get a 10th Doctor right now for less than 50 pence. So that's not an issue as such. It might begin to climb. So what they need to do, as far as I'm concerned, is create a universes beyond, but universes within Masters. What I mean by that is reprint all of this stuff in their own universes within names into a new set, a booster product that could be drafted perhaps. I mean, we're probably a year or two off of this, and that's one of the other problems, right? Is that the One Ring will continue to climb as it sees a lot of play, and it sees a lot of play. Some people claim you don't need the One Ring to play Modern or something, unless you're playing a deck that plays the One Ring, in which case you do need it. Coffers, the Mono Black control deck, Amulet, Tron, some versions of Omnath, some versions of Nardu. All of these decks do want to play 3 to 4 copies, usually 4 copies of the ring. So telling me you don't need it is bollocks if you want to play those decks. So in a few years, we might get these reprint heavy universes within sets. We get all this stuff renamed and re-arted into a thing that then we have to go, oh, that's technically David Tennant, the card. Or David Tennant number 2, because there's 2 David Tennant cards. Ultimately, that's not a problem, but it does feel a little bit messy, right? That will have a huge swath of cards that have 2 arts and 2 names. And that will inevitably lead to people in Commander games having 2 copies of a card in their deck and then getting told gently by a player who notices, by the way, they're the same card. It's just not the same effect reprinted onto a different card. It's not 2 different versions of Shock, for example, or whatever. That's probably a bad example, but it's 2 cards with different names. But it's 2 cards with the same name that aren't different. My God, I'm getting confused now, sat here in the British summer heat trying to explain this to a camera. The reason I'm making the video is that I think all of this is rather interesting. That we've got a card approaching $100 that currently sees play that's technically still in print, but they can't actually reprint it into any new sets. I say technically still in print because I think Lord of the Rings hasn't finished its print run. Don't quote me on that. I didn't look it up. It's hard to actually ascertain what is in print and what is not. But it's going to need a reprint one day, and I'm pretty sure they can't reprint it with the One Ring slapped onto it, because that is a IP particular contractual thing. Bowmasters, on the other hand, I wonder if they can get away with this because it feels non-specific enough. But any of the other legendaries, any of the Gandalfs or Aragorns or other similar cards that are popular for Commander and will increase in price over the next few years, again, they're going to need an in-universe reprint somewhere. So we're going to get a Universes Within draft set, I'm sure of it. Or we'll get a Universes Within Epilogue booster set, which feels a lot shitter because they'll still charge you a premium to give you less cards. I've been Vince, also as PleasantKenobi on the internet. Don't forget to click the link to watn.com in the description below. Use the link, the referral link to get £10 off your first purchase. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. Have they dug themselves a hole? Do you find this all just a bit awkward and clunky? Do you roll your eyes at it? Let me know down below. I unfortunately read the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.